Hi, today I will introduce VisGuided, a community-driven approach for education in visualization. Every time we organize a new course on visualization, we face the same challenges: how to coherently encompass concepts and ideas from different literature and transfer that knowledge to the students. The reality is that the literature in visualization is steadily growing, and with a great set of books, both from academia and beyond, and online resources, some of them contradicting each other at times. For example, the very well-known guideline that a visualization should maximize the data-in ratio, known as Tufte's data-in ratio for visual design. This principle has been in its use until today, and it's the source of many debates. Basically, what it means is that we should avoid the use of unnecessary ink in our visualizations. There is another example, for example, the paper on useful junk and its effects on memorability and visual embellishment. These two papers are evidence that while these guidelines are often seen as part of our collective wisdom in visualization, they naturally do not cover all the nuances that are present in concrete real-world scenarios. This opens up opportunities for new research and visualization tools, such as the InfoImages paper last year at Eurovis. With the exceptions, often undefined scope, and conflicting supporting evidence, applying visualization in the wild poses major challenges to the next generations of visualization practitioners and researchers, challenges that they must be prepared to face. In educational context, these challenges provide the students with opportunity to develop critical thinking on literature that is available, as well as the ability to discern the whys, the hows, and the whats on the visualization field. In this work, we approach visualization education from the perspective of a classroom that extends the boundaries of the physical virtual room to the outside visualization community, where both the classroom and the community mutually benefit. This symbiosis allows for the pluralization of ideas, critical thinking, and democratic discussions. We use VisGuides as a platform that allows the students to discuss their assignments with the Vis community. Our co-created and participatory approach uses VisGuides as a public, open, and democratic discussion platform that everybody can use, including the students, lecturers, researchers, and so on. Some of the key challenges that we want to face are: how can participatory science make available new resources? How can community-driven and participatory education support the transfer of skills and skill development to students to promote critical thinking? And, for example, how can community-driven education contribute to research? To test our hypotheses and research questions, we develop a methodology that consists of 5 main steps. First, traditional lectures presenting a given topic. Second, a set of assignments for individual or group development. And then a community exchange and feedback via VisGuides. We use different strategies to introduce the discussion in the VisGuides platform. For example, we describe the tool during the lectures, and also we answer questions about its use and assessments in Q&A sessions. Then, in the 4th step of our methodology, students can integrate that useful feedback from VisGuides into their assignments. And finally, as a last step after the course is finished, lecturers can also assimilate this feedback to improve future courses. We tested our approach in 3 course interventions at 2 universities over the period of 2 years. A use case on visual design that was executed at the Swansea University in 2019 and 2020, and a use case of critical thinking on visualization guidelines performed at the University of Zurich in 2020. The first interventions that were run at the University of Swansea were part of the data visualization course from the Department of Computer Science. This course is cross-listed for final bachelor students and also master students. Although there are not formal prerequisites to the course, students are expected to be familiar with programming, general programming, problem solving, and also analysis. In the first pilot at Swansea, students were instructed to select among several high-dimensional datasets and produce a visual design. Then they were asked to post a screenshot of their visual designs and a question to VisGuides to ask for advice and feedback. In the second intervention, students were instructed to use a particular high-dimensional dataset and produce a visual design. Then they were as well asked to submit a screenshot of their designs and ask for advice at VisGuides. In both cases, they could choose among several visualization techniques and visualization tools. Interestingly, when analyzing the top 3 chosen visualization techniques, we noticed that there are always selected in both cases, 2019 and 2020, 3 maps such as choroplets and symbol maps, and packed bubble charts. Some threads also show improved designs after their exchange in the VisGuides. At the University of Zurich, the intervention was part of the course Data Visualization Concepts from the Department of Informatics. In this case, students are enrolled in this course as a bachelor or master students, and they can have a major or a minor in informatics, but may come from a diverse range of programs such as biology, mathematics, business, economics, etc. So in this case, we introduced a 2-step exercise. First, the lecture, visualization guidelines, and then a first warming up exercise on discussing visualization guidelines. Students were instructed to select a guideline from books or from VisGuide with the goal of preparing students in critical thinking, challenging and debating on visualization guidelines. So afterwards, in a second exercise, students were asked to voluntarily and optionally post a question or answer a post at VisGuides on a given topic or open problem, or discuss a controversial guideline. We wanted to dig further into the data, so we coded the purpose of the post and replies into 2 dimensions. One is inquiries and the other replies, to capture both behaviors. For the inquiries, we defined a first categorization that separates the inquiries into general and visual design. In the case of general inquiry, we defined categories such as interpretation, whether it was an inquiry about improvement or a technical alternative. And in the case of visual design, we were more specific and labeled subcategories such as effectiveness, clutter, readability, etc. In the case of the replied, we coded whether it was a reply with an improvement advice, an alternative advice, or additional educational source. For the 2 interventions that we ran at Swansea, we observed that most of the students' questions were about the interpretation of the visual design, the improvement, or asking for alternatives to the design. And the replies were about advice of improvements and sometimes about design alternatives and educational resources. Instead, when we went to the University of Zurich intervention, we noticed that the students were more engaged in discussions. Our assumption is that the introduction of this warming up essay paved the road for more complex posts, such as, for example, the connectedness between data visualization and game design, ethics, and contributions to the tough-stick data in ratio principle that are even alive until today. So all in all, the results of our community-driven approach evidence a wide list of benefits for educators, students, and researchers. For example, a student can benefit from responses at VisGuides, design improvements, alternative design choices, and useful resources. They can also benefit from conversations among other students, helping each other, which can be associated with collaborative learning. A bit more subtle, but yet very important, is that the students can learn how to ask and pose questions in a public, democratic, and open forum. And this is a soft skill that is very valuable in collaborative and cooperative work environments. In the case of educators, they can also benefit in many ways. They receive valuable feedbacks and perspective from the posts in VisGuides from the VIS community, they can identify topics that need to be reinforced and new directions in teaching and education. Finally, for the very first time, educators can compare the current and forthcoming assignments with previous years at VisGuides. For researchers, there are also benefits. There are new research opportunities, open questions, and challenges that may arise from the post discussion and VisGuides and can be further developed. These are our first steps towards a more democratic, flexible, and enriching experience where discussing and even contesting well-established knowledge will be the rule and not the exception in education. We need more engaged educators and researchers that can join us and use our approach in their courses or participate in the discussions at VisGuides and in formal and informal education courses. Thank you for your attention.